Lying on a job resume or bluffing your way to a job that you have absolutely no idea how to handle isn't the most uncommon thing in the world. My favorite example of this is George Lazenby, who played James Bond for a single movie. He made up his entire resume, lied about all of it in order to land the role, and played it one time and quit. Dude had no acting experience at all and must have forged the best summer reading report of a resume ever. So he got to be James Bond on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I love the poster here. Far up, far out, far more. James Bond 007 is back. More like fucking Lames Bond. Jesus Christ, that hasn't aged well. That goes to show you how much we've evolved. That is not the best tagline now, but I do appreciate it. Point is, forging a resume, making shit up in order to get a job, that's not unheard of. And today I was thinking back to some classic controversies and examples of this happening, and I remembered like 4 or 5 years ago, there was a couple cases where people pretended to be sign language interpreters and landed roles in major productions such as news broadcasts or events and concerts, and eventually people that actually understood sign language called them out because they were signing complete nonsense. It wasn't even close. It was blatantly way off. They were up there just doing the fucking scat man with their hands, not making any sense. They were up there like popping and locking, doing like TikTok dances basically, and calling it sign language.
Happened again. Another sign language interpreter accused of signing total gibberish. This time it was at the police news conference announcing an arrest in the Tampa serial killings.
We will be charging 4 counts of first-degree murder.
I don't know American Sign Language, but I do know she got one of those right. 4. I understood that one. A pretty high-profile case here, a serial killer, and I bet all the viewers that are hard of hearing must have been beyond confused as to the report that was being delivered from this lady.
Standing off to the side, apparently translating every word, this woman.
We received over 5,000 tips in this case.
But it turns out, much of what she was signing was nonsense. She waved her arms around like she was singing Jingle Bells.
I've got to admire the fake it till you make it attitude here, but unfortunately the only thing to make was a fool of herself. I decided to look at comments, which is usually very ill-advised. When you go into the YouTube comments, you're going into the swamp. But I really was curious if she was signing any real words at all, because even to my stupid, smooth little reptile brain, some of those did look like actual sign language, movements. And it turns out she was using some words correctly, such as kill and murder and arrested. However, most of it was gibberish. Most of it was just actual mumbled nonsense. So when she was doing all that stuff with her, fingers, none of that was real. I could have been up there doing, the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1 salute, and I would have been making more sense than she was. It's also wild to think that anyone hard of hearing that would have been watching this broadcast might have been concerned for her health, because the way she's signing would have been like having a stroke. A ton of gibberish with a few words that get mumbled out would have been like going to an auction during a bidding war, where the auctioneer is just going fucking hog wild, like, yeah, do I hear 5 do I hear 5 I'm going 1 do I hear 5 over there 5
says one outraged sign language expert. The woman, identified as Derlin Roberts, has a string of arrests for fraud. So how did she come to be translating at last week's high-profile police news conference?
I just didn't ask enough questions.
I love this section where he just kind of pops in like, yep, it was me. I'm the fucking idiot. I did it. Like, he's just very upfront and honest, like a parent that caught their kid stealing a cookie from the cookie jar and just folding, like, no, it was me. I did it. It's my fault. I'm the dummy. Point and laugh at me, shoot your spitballs at me. I know. It was me. Also, at a certain point, I just have to admire this lady's grind. She was born for one purpose. Trolling. Like, her whole life has been nothing but fraud, and she still continues to go down that path. And she wasn't even getting paid for this, by the way. She did this just for the love of lying. So she had no experience signing, she also had a history of fraud, and still landed the biggest sign language interpretation position of that year. This serial killer broadcast was a huge one. I remember this vividly. So, hats off to her that she's still able to keep performing at a high level of fraud.
Tampa Police Public Information Officer Steve Hegarty told me the woman simply showed up out of the blue and offered her services.
My immediate reaction was, I didn't call for a sign language interpreter, but that's great that we have one here. I let her in.
Did this woman appear to know what she was doing?
To the untrained eye, and that would include mine, I didn't see any problem.
There's almost an art form for something being so stupid that it's smart. A plan like this, which at its core is just complete dog shit dummy, that it crosses over that event horizon into being genius. This is something where no one's gonna really question you, so she shows up like an angel. Hey, I'll be a sign language interpreter here, just so that way if anyone's hard of hearing and watching this, they can get the information. Like, oh, that's so nice of you to offer your services. Can you prove that you can do it? And then if you don't know American Sign Language, you're not going to be able to pick up on like all kinds of moves with your hands and shit not meaning anything. So she could have easily faked her way into it, and she did flawlessly. Like the guy said, to the untrained eye, he had no red flags being tripped off, and they're not going to really background check someone that's offering their service for free, because what would be the incentive? Like, why would they be lying about it?
This latest embarrassment comes 3 months after it was revealed that the sign language interpreter at a Hurricane Irma news conference, also in Florida, made no sense.
The time to act is now.
Haggerty is summing up the latest goof.
We won't be using that woman again.
Cops say this was not a crime, but it was an ethical violation.
So we're going to get to that other sign language blunder in just a moment, because it also happened in Florida, and I also remember that one as well, because I'm from Florida. Now, as he mentioned, it's not a crime to be faking a sign language position, I guess. Since she wasn't charging for her service, she didn't defraud them or anything. She just lied to them and pretended she knew what she was doing. They got pranked, basically. I bet she was giggling the entire way home that she actually pulled this off. She must have like a Facebook group that they do these high-profile pranks in or something. Like, I don't know why she would do this, other than just having fun with it, which is still such a wild activity, like a wild hobby, to just pretend to be a sign language interpreter.
The time to act is now.
It was an urgent Hurricane Irma evacuation order, but look at the sign language interpreter on
Yes,
the right.
law enforcement
He's
is
actually
shutting off
signing
access
total
to the
gibberish.
island at
What's he
small
really
distance.
communicating to deaf citizens caught up in the hurricane crisis?
Enforcement
Words
will be
like
taking that
pizza,
over.
monsters, and the
Yes.
sentence,
No,
help
tomorrow,
you at
6
that
p.m.
time
tomorrow,
to use
excuse me.
bear hug.
This situation actually has a lot more nuance compared to the last one. In the last one, it's like that Shaq meme, I'm unfamiliar with your game. I don't know why that lady pretends to be a sign language interpreter, especially when she's not getting paid for it. She does it just to make the whole broadcast silly and goofy. A mere mortal can't possibly understand her deep, complex motivations for why she fakes being a sign language interpreter. But in this case, the guy did not want to do this. He was forced to. And he actually does have a sympathetic background and actually does have experience with sign language, but told them he wasn't comfortable doing this and didn't think he was cut out for it. So they mention here that he was signing real words like pizza and monsters, both of which could be applicable to a hurricane. A hurricane comes around, you're probably going to have pizza places being hit. Pizza's not safe. It's not like a fucking safe spot or anything. You might even have pizza flying around the hurricane that could be used as a projectile weapon. So maybe he had a whole spiel he was going to go into about pizza. Monsters. A hurricane is absolutely nature's monster. It's been called that since the beginning of time. And then about the bear hug. You know, better hug your loved ones because you might fucking lose them in the hurricane. There's plenty of ways of spinning that where it makes sense. But point is, he was using real words and actually stringing together sentences. They just didn't fully make sense at all.
Deaf actress Marlee Matlin posted, "This is outrageous."
Please heed our warnings.
The interpreter's name is
in a
Marshall
low-lying
Green.
area,
Officials in Manatee
what-
County asked Green to step in because no one else was available. His mom, brother Morgan, who is hearing impaired, and Morgan's fiancée Chauncey are coming to his defense today.
This is where the plot starts to thicken. You can see where the narrative is about to get real convoluted and confusing here. So, they called upon him, like Batman with the signal in the sky, in order to be the sign language interpreter for the evacuation orders for Irma. That's a very serious thing. The evacuation for Irma was a huge deal. I got evacuated during Hurricane Irma. Now, luckily, I didn't see his broadcast, and I don't understand sign language, because if I did, I may have ended up just getting a pizza and writing it out, which may have fucking killed me. Who knows? But point is, they chose Marshall, saying they had nobody else to go to, so it was their last-ditch Hail Mary, desperate attempt to get some kind of sign language interpreter up there for the broadcast to relay the information to the hearing-impaired community. I don't know how they chose him. Someone must have just been like, hey, I saw Marshall do the fucking Vulcan salute at the office one time. Good enough, bring him in. Surely he knows sign language.
he, told them he didn't think that he was able to do it, and they didn't felt like that they needed him to. So he said yes. The vocabulary for an evacuation is very different than everyday language.
I'm just asking, as someone hearing impaired, what your reaction is to this criticism. Chaucer signed my question to Morgan.
He only did what he was told to do, so please leave our family alone.
In this case, I really just don't blame Marshall for this situation at all. This is not his fault. He gave them warning that he probably couldn't do this and he didn't feel comfortable trying. His brother is hearing impaired, so he does know sign language, and his brother and family also confirm he does know sign language, but the vocabulary and the speed of the evacuation orders are very different than what he's used to, which is why he said he didn't feel comfortable trying it, but he still did the best that he could when they asked him to. So I do really feel bad for him and the family here, because this is really not his fault. He didn't want to be there. He didn't lie to get there, and he didn't try to, fuck the whole thing up. But yeah, anyway, I just wanted to talk about these because they popped into my head this afternoon, because I remembered there was so much sign language controversy for a year, where even outside of these two cases, a couple other sign language interpreters were revealed as complete frauds, and they were ones that actually traveled with bands and rappers where they'd sign the songs, and it turns out they weren't even signing anything close to the songs. So the whole thing was just a wild little trend almost, and just want to talk about it. That's about it. So yeah.